Welcome back to the Morgan Streetman Show. Morgan, if our listeners are like Pat, myself, they're catching up on everything that happened. So Thank you for bringing us up to speed.
Can you bring me up to speed on something that I heard?
Yeah.
There's supposed to be a drill or something for a cyber or the grid going down?
Yeah, major cyber attack to take down the U.S. power grid. Yeah, they're going to do a drill or essentially have an exercise that simulates that type of an attack. And what's so interesting about these exercises, for anybody that can see patterns, you probably have noticed these exercises somehow, some way, tend to precede actual events that match them. Remember the Event 201 exercise that they did, I think it was September of October of 19, that just a few months before the COVID outbreak happened, they had an exercise. Well, what would happen if we had a pandemic and a virus got out, and how would people respond? And that's where they developed some of their messaging. They sort of had these roundtables to discuss what they would do. It was put on by the Gates Foundation and others. And then lo and behold, a real event happens that just happens to mirror what they just trained for. I mean, gosh, they're awfully good at predicting what's going to happen. So now, something we've been warned about. I mean, gosh, I've been hearing about the electrical grid and the fact that our grid was not hardened and the fact that we had to worry about some kind of a EMP, electromagnetic pulse attack on our electrical grid that could, put the U.S. back 60, 70 years, maybe even a couple of hundred years in terms of our technology, knock out all electricity, no cars will work, etc. I mean, I don't know if that's what actually would happen if they detonated an EMP up above the country, but this is some of what was talked about. This is going all the way back to the George W. Bush administration. After 9/11, they were talking about our electrical grid isn't hardened. We've got to worry about our electrical grid. And in the ensuing 20 years, have they done anything about it? No, they haven't. They haven't done a darn thing about it. Our electrical grid is essentially no more hardened to that type of attack than it was 20 years ago. Now we're having them say, well, what if they, instead of detonating an EMP, which is, like a nuclear device up above the nation, what if instead they have some kind of ransomware, like we've seen a couple of times, or some other kind of computer software that shuts down the grid, and we can't turn it back on because the software has done something, either encrypted everything or maybe even destroyed some of the processes somewhere along the way. I mean, you could imagine and suppose, you could supposition about all kinds of things that might happen. We can just imagine them, but now they're running a drill, an event to simulate what will we do if that happens. So those of us that recognize patterns, we say, oh boy, is that the next thing that's coming? Thank you for listening to the Morgan Streetman Show. We hope you enjoyed what you heard, and if you did, please click like and subscribe to help us out. And remember that we recommend that you exercise your brain at least once a week.